Hello, friends. Welcome to Spike Week, and I'm Eric Beim4. And on today's show, it's Friday, so we're news dumping everything that's happening across the NFL in training camp, and of course, last night's preseason games. I hope you got your Keaton Mitchell and Tory Horton shares in before their explosions in the preseason last night. What's going on with the Chargers? Rashawn Slater is out for the season. Keenan Allen is a Charger. Travis Hunter is playing a lot of offensive snaps. Who knows? And all sorts of relevant fantasy news from across the league. We're going to get into it, and we're going to draft some best ball teams because that's what we do here at Spike Week. Let's get it. Hello, friends. Happy Friday. What a time to be alive. It is, as Kendrick says, Keaton to the moon, GM to everybody. I agree with Mac. Hopefully we can get an injury-free day in the NFL today. As Chris says, Chris bringing the negativity into the chat right away. Anthony Richardson with a broken pinky. We'll get to it in a second. He's fine. Don't forget Will Shipley, says Mac, with a big near 40-yard run. Rick, amen. Happy Friday. Football is back. Last night was a ton of fun. Happy Shador Day, says Jenks, the Browns fan. Sizzle says, thank you for putting me on. Shipley, don't thank me yet. It's one quarter of one preseason game, but we'll get to it, right? Will Shipley running ahead of A.J. Dillon and popped a nice run, caught a pass, everything we would hope for in a preseason game. Shipley looked good. We'll talk about this actually. Before Best Ball says Shipley looked good, but so did most playing against second tier Ds. What I would just say, which we will touch on in the notes section here, the Bengals are playing their starting defense, the defense that is going to be out there in week 1 against the Browns was that Bengals defense, which maybe tells us everything we need to know about how the Bengals are going to perform this season. Any legendary sickos coming up today? As a matter of fact, today, well, we're recording today. It'll come out tomorrow. 48% Shipley for Sizzle. Michelle says, according to the hellscape that is Twitter, it's over for Genty. It was a good run. 3 carries. Good thing he got paid. He got the top 10 contract. 3 carries. It's over for Ashton Genty, as we all know. That's great. Shipley is cooked because Tanner McKee got the tush push. Tanner McKee, quite good, by the way. Good at the game. Tanner McKee, maybe more of a or deep diving super flex leagues, but I thought Tanner McKee looked pretty awesome. And if I'm really like digging deep, nose in the dirt take is that AJ Brown and Devontae Smith are immune from any quarterback injury risk. If Tanner McKee is the backup, I feel quite good that AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, etc., will be just fine. Certainly you would prefer Jalen Hurts, but Tanner McKee, good at the game. Let's see. Don't need preseason to know my 27%. Justin Jefferson is good. Some positive news on Justin Jefferson with his hamstring as well. Tons of fun. Last night was a ton of fun. Let's get into some of the news and notes because it is an action-packed week. We got lots to get into. And, of course, we need to draft some best ball teams because we have less than a month to go. Let's just start with it. We'll start with the preseason game, as DJ Quill says. Michael, interesting. Michael is getting frisky on a Friday morning. But as you see at the top of the list here, if you're watching or if you're just listening, Keaton Mitchell, he's back. The juice is back. Obviously, no Derrick Henry, no Justice Hill in last night's game, but that is to be expected. The Ravens are quite light on running backs right now, so Keaton might have to play multiple more times in the preseason, which I guess is not, frankly, ideal, but looked awesome. He's going to rise, and I think he should. If you've been drafting off of the Spike Week rankings for the last while, or just the Spike Week vibes, you've heard me talk about Keaton Mitchell way too much over the course of the last few weeks. But I think with good reason. You see he's back, and as explosive as ever. And like the real story of Keaton Mitchell is, like Sizzle asked, is Hill the number 2 or is Keaton the number 2? Both, neither. This is one of those it's a fairly nuanced situation where here's my expectation on how it's going to work. Keaton is going to be like a change of pace back come the regular season. How many touches? Is that 2 touches? Is that 10 touches? Who's to say? I think that would be game by game. Who knows? But he's going to mix in a little bit. Justice Hill is the passing down back. So when they're in 3rd and long, when they're in obvious passing situations, long down and distance, etc., Justice Hill will come into the game. Derrick Henry will do the Derrick Henry stuff, but we'll so Keaton kind of steals a little bit from both of them. I think they'll, they probably want to throw Keaton a screen a game or something if they had their druthers. So there's like not really a 2. I think they play sort of different roles. And if something were to happen to Derrick Henry, it's wheels up on both, though I think wheels up on Keaton a lot more than on Justice Hill. It's kind of my take on Keaton. That's been my take all along. And it was nice to see, we've been hearing that he's back from an explosion standpoint, but the bet why we've been drafting him is, of course, that role that we're expecting. But then like we need the old Keaton to be back in order for the contingent value to hit and the standalone value to hit right on the, as DJ Quill says, he may only get 7 touches, but if he houses one of those and like 2 of them are catches, he could score double-digit points in a game in that minimal role. So there's standalone value, but we needed the juice, right? We needed to see the juice. We needed to see old 4-3 burner, explosive Keaton Mitchell, and we saw it. So feeling good about that. Tory Horton also looking the part, getting more praise, scoring a touchdown. They peppered him with a bunch of targets in that game. Drew Lock is awful. I have no idea. Just how good is Malik Neighbors was my takeaway from that he carried Drew Lock to a 30-plus point fantasy game last year in week 17 because Drew Lock is just not very good. It was a tough scene. But Tory Horton, I don't want to kind of keep belaboring these guys, but looked the part, did everything that you hope to see out of a late round pick that you've been hammering of late, and the coaching staff continued to talk him up. There was also a recent note, I believe it was in the Coach Speak Index Discord, talking about how it's not that they don't like MVS, it's just that MVS has made very few plays and Tory Horton has made a ton of plays. So he continued to make plays last night, which is good for Horton. Tim says, don't forget that DJ Giddens looks like the number 2, and Khalil Herbert seems to be a bench warmer. That's pretty big news. Yeah, it is. I was going to mention it during the Tyler Warren section, the little mini Colts, kind of Anthony Richardson Colts. A lot going on with the Colts last night. Let's just do that really quickly. Anthony Richardson dislocated his pinky, or they popped it right back in. If you saw the pictures, it was kind of sideways, and then they popped it back in. And I believe they said they did a MRI or whatever this morning, and like he'll be back to practice in a couple of days. Was the report just this morning, like that I saw like maybe a half hour ago. Anthony Richardson will be fine, so avoided disaster with Anthony Richardson shares, though the play that he got injured on was not very good by him. So not ideal that he's making a fairly basic mistake when you're in that sort of protection and you get the blitz that's on the quarterback to find the check down. They call it the hot route, right? He needs to you throw into that blitz, check it down to DJ Giddens, and live to fight another day as a quarterback. And he did not do that. So he got himself hurt, which is not great. Daniel Jones was not particularly good either, 10 for 22 or something along those lines, though. Who was great was Tyler Warren. I thought Tyler Warren looked the part. He was kind of the safety valve for Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson, specifically Daniel Jones, and seemed to be the center of the passing attack. It's one preseason game, just a couple of drives, but it's nice to see a rookie immediately, right? One of the concerns about rookie tight ends historically has been that, it's a slow starting position. It's hard to draft rookie tight ends in fantasy football because they have to learn to be an offensive lineman. They have to learn to run, they have to learn 2 positions more so than most other positions, right? Obviously outside of quarterback. And if they're popping in on like the first snap, essentially, that they played, Warren also a good blocker. Really positive vibes, I think, around Tyler Warren. If you've been drafting him, if you haven't, it might be a decent time to pick up a couple of shares. DJ Giddens, as Tim mentioned, was the backup Khalil Herbert. I think it is over for Khalil Herbert. Might be the RB4, which means he might not make the team. DJ Giddens wasn't particularly good in that game, but it's a running back. I'm not concerned about it. I think the market has had DJ Giddens as the backup there with a little bit of caution. I'm not so sure DJ Giddens will rise a ton, but he probably should, given the fact I think we have a lot more clarity around his role as JT's backup. A couple quick things I wanted to note. If we're doing all these positive vibes, we also have to unfortunately speak the negative. And when I've been sprinkling, and drafting, actually for a stretch, Jermaine Burton was my favorite last round player. I don't think it's over for Jermaine Burton, but he did not play with the starters at all last night. The Bengals offense played their starters for a couple of drives, and probably because they want to not suck so bad at the start of the season. But we'll get to that. And Jermaine Burton did not play with the starters. Jamar Chase guy, still pretty good. Pretty good player, I think. Just absolutely cooking, as one would expect from the 101 and maybe the best wide receiver in the NFL. Anyway, the Bengals did not use Jermaine Burton with the starters, which that doesn't mean it's over, right? For him, but didn't really do anything either in the game. Didn't show up and impress, which is certainly not ideal. And Charlie Jones, if you remember, Charlie Jones of Purdue fame, who we kind of liked a couple of years ago, has suffered a lot of injuries. Charlie Jones popping quite a bit more than Jermaine Burton did. So again, 2 more preseason games to go. Burton, what's happening in camp is just as important, more so important than the preseason games, but notable. It was not a good day for the Jermaine Burton bags. It was, however, a good day to me for any Bengals passing game bags. I guess the saving grace for Jermaine Burton would be the Bengals played their starting defense against the Eagles backups, and they couldn't stop a cold. Oh my God. This Bengals defense is going to be as bad, if not worse, than we think. Play stacks against them. The Cardinals are going to kill them in week 17. To bet the overs, bet overs for opposing players, bet overs for opposing teams, bet the overs in Bengals games because we know they're going to score points. If you watched, released our first sports betting video here at Spike Week, which we're going to be doing in season, we're going to be covering DFS every week and my favorite bets and just what's going on in the betting markets every single week. I've already placed 10 sides and totals wagers for week 1. One of them is the Browns and Bengals over because, good God, the Bengals defense, terrible, absolute disaster. Which is like maybe other than like the fact that the Keaton thing was fun, the Burton thing was fun, the Big Will Shipley run was fun, all that stuff. Tyler Warren looked great. All like that stuff was fun. The thing that like I just could not get out of my head as I'm watching last night is, my God, the Bengals overs are going to be an absolute print fest to start the season. And if you have guys against the Bengals, you should feel pretty good. Week 1, I'm gonna have to move the Browns up the eliminator rankings, I think, because they play the Bengals in week 1. Jesus Christ. All right, enough preseason, and let's get to some training camp because we got a lot to get to before we draft some teams. Flacco to the moon in week 1, says BMAC. I agree. Will this impact AR's accuracy? I'm not sure it could get worse. So it's possible, but I think it'll be right. It's like a sprint. You guys have like jammed a finger or whatever. Right. It's like once it dislocates and you pop it back in, so long as there wasn't like any real structural damage, he'll be fine. Ice it up, rest it, put it in a splint for a couple days, and he'll be just fine. Now, is his accuracy going to be good? That was a problem, regardless of whether or not he hurt his finger. So we'll see. We shall see with Anthony Richardson. He is not cooked as Copy Paste Dates asks, but it's not a great development. It's certainly not a great development. Burrow is going to nuke again, says Jonathan. Yeah, that was, if you've been feeling uncomfortable about 5th round Joe Burrow, like I have, maybe just dabble in those waters a little bit, because I think he's going to have to pass a lot. And if you've been thinking, that Jamar Chase guy, should I really take him 101? Yep. Yes. I think the answer is yes. Just take him. God, I can't get the Bengals defense out of my brain. Tanner McKee, Will Shipley, these guys, Johnny Wilson. They can't guard Johnny Wilson. I mean, come on. All right, training camp. Let's talk about the Chargers a little bit. They are clearly kind of the most impactful news of the last week. They sign Keenan Allen. I haven't spent a lot of time. We spent a little time on a couple of videos this week talking about it, because obviously it didn't happen like today or last night as of this recording on a Friday morning. I think the market is going to handle this poorly. And what I've seen already is I don't think this impacts Ladd McConkey at all. When I think about it like this, if Ladd McConkey is going to be go from a middle of the 2nd round pick to the middle of a 3rd round pick, because this old aging free agent wide receiver that nobody really thinks is anything special anymore wasn't good enough for like teams to really target him until now. Like, I think Keenan Allen is like an NFL wide receiver at this point. But he's slot only. He's if Ladd couldn't be Ladd, if Ladd isn't as good as we think he is, that's the problem. The problem is not Keenan Allen is going to siphon away 25% of the targets from Ladd. Keenan Allen is going to step in and take the same targets that QJ or Trey Harris or Keandre Lambert-Smith or the tight ends, those guys were going to take. He's not going to take away from Ladd McConkey if Ladd McConkey is as good as we think that he is. Now, is that it's his 2nd year. Ladd was as good as we thought as a rookie. Is he that good? The Chargers sure seem to think so, but they think everybody's going to the Hall of Fame on their offense, and so I'm not worried about Ladd. I am, I moved down Trey Harris and QJ and such because of the Keenan thing. I still think those guys are draftable, as is a KLS or something. They're just not my priority right now. I think it's exceptionally murky about what's happening around Ladd. The stable asset is Ladd McConkey, in my opinion, in that passing game. But around the edges, around Ladd McConkey, what do we get? I don't think anyone can say. So I'm sort of in wait and see mode to kind of see, okay, like let's start to get a look at what their offense looks like. The other issue for the Chargers is, of course, that Rashawn Slater, one of the best offensive tackles in the entire NFL, torn patella tendon and is out for the season. Just people will ask about, right, like how do we evaluate these offensive line type injuries? So I just wanted to pull up PFF. The PFF grades are not everything, of course. That's not the end all be all. It doesn't mean it's not gospel. But I think when you're like grading out as one of the best offensive linemen in the league, I think it is important. It's a very relevant way to view the offensive lineman. And if you see here, amongst linemen who played basically last year, Rashawn Slater was the 4th highest graded pass blocker in the NFL, one of the highest graded offensive tackles, 5th overall. Offensive lineman overall. So the 5th highest graded offensive lineman in the NFL. One of them was Eric McCoy, who is very good, of the Saints, who only played 293 offensive snaps. So amongst full-time players, Rashawn Slater is one of the very best offensive linemen in the entire NFL. And offensive line is something that obviously matters. It's a big deal. It's a fairly significant hit to the Chargers. Am I going to stop drafting Amarian Hampton or Ladd McConkey or Justin Herbert? No, because these things can be overcome. We saw last year when Christian Darrisaw it was very good, but not as good as Rashawn Slater for the Vikings. And we saw when they ran into some tough defenses bringing pressure, a la the Lions at the end of the season and the Rams in the postseason. And they turned Sam Darnold back into a pumpkin because the offensive line couldn't hold up. The Chargers are not there yet, but they lost their best piece. And so it's a slight ding to the Chargers losing that good of a player, right? It's like a defense losing, it's like the Rams without Aaron Donald on defense type of a situation. Not to that extent. Aaron Donald's probably one of the best defensive players to ever play football. But maybe Rashawn Slater could have got there from an offensive line. I don't know. Definitely impactful. So I wanted to hit that at least. We'll rapid fire a handful of these. DJ Quill says, thoughts on Naji's eye after that pick came out? I don't have any real thoughts on Naji's eye. I'm not an optometrist. I'm not an eye doctor. I'm not like squinting in and seeing what his eye looks like in this picture. I don't know. I've never thought that like he lost an eye. It's a funny bit. I guess funny, dark humor. It's a dark funny bit about his eye, and not having or not having two eyes is humorous. But the real issue is that he's not practicing, and his rehab that they're talking about is walking around the field like a grandma at the nursing home. Like his exercise is slowly walking around the football field. That's his rehab and exercise. That is terrifying. Whether or not his eye looks bad or doesn't, I don't give a shit. I give a shit that the guy is supposed to be playing football in a few weeks, NFL football, and he can't even do a speed walk. I walk my dogs faster, and they stop and sniff everything and piss on everything. And we move faster than Naji Harris is moving around the field. And that's his rehab. That is the terrifying thing for Naji Harris to me, whether or not his eye is fine. So, yeah, Chargers. A lot of Chargers stuff going on. That is for sure. You do hate to see it with the Slater injury, as Mac says. Opportunity cost of Burrow at the 4 or 5 turn feels high. How do you think about it? It's really high, and that's been my issue with Joe Burrow, though you can get him on some sites after that. But I just think I want to mix him in a little bit more than I was doing. I have like just a light sprinkling of Joe Burrow because I felt, I'm admitting it was fear-based drafting, okay? I felt FOMO about this Bengals stuff, and now I feel even more fear. Aren't you worried? The peak, aren't you worried the Bengals defense is terrible and Burrow's going to throw for 7,000 yards? Yes, I'm terrified. So how do I think about it? Honestly, this one is I'm just going to get some exposure to Joe Burrow. Not a ton. I'm not going to be overweight or any of that kind of stuff. But I think I would feel bad when we flip the cards over Thursday Night Football week 1 and I have 1% Joe Burrow. I think I'll feel very bad. So let's rectify that is my general thoughts. Going to be hard to ever draft Naji with the grandma in a nursing home image there. Sorry, that's how I feel. That's all I could think of was the grandma with the walker. The walker's got the tennis balls on the feet or whatever. That's Naji Harris right now. All right, rapid fire some of these a little bit so we can get to do some drafting. The 49ers running back. If you are a 49ers running back, I don't know why anyone would ever want to go play running back for the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, the Chargers are cursed with injuries and all this, as we're seeing. Being the RB2 or RB3 or RB1, being a running back for the San Francisco 49ers means you're going to get hurt. Christian McCaffrey has stayed healthy, obviously, so far during training camp, but Isaac Guerendo is out for a few weeks, and Jordan James is out for a couple of weeks. Both probably going to miss all the rest of camp-ish, something like that, possibly on into the season. It doesn't look great for Guerendo. He's not going to be out forever, obviously. But, is Guerendo going to make it back? Is he going to be the backup even when he gets back, having not practiced, essentially, all summer? He's going to fall, as he should. And Jordan James, the exciting rookie that some of us like out of Oregon, is unfortunately not going to be out there to capitalize on this opportunity. The Niners' injury issues are insane. who I would classify now as the favorite to be the RB2 for the 49ers is Patrick Taylor. Yes, that Patrick Taylor from Memphis, who has bounced around the NFL, Packers and Niners and such. But they did say before some of these injuries the other day, Kyle Shanahan said, what a ringing endorsement this was, by the way. The quote was, Patrick Taylor has as good of a chance as anyone to be the RB2, which, like, a strange way to, I think Shanny is a little bit sick of the running back injuries. And I think that came out in that quote. Patrick Taylor is healthy and was on the Niners last year. And at the end of the season was not awful for them, I believe in week 18, but nonetheless, I put Patrick Taylor into the rankings at the back end, and I'm currently fading Isaac Guerrero and honestly fading Jordan James as well. You don't have to draft Patrick Taylor by any stretch of the imagination, but it's important information to have a valuable backfield, right? Jaden Blue, we're not doing this Cowboys running back conversation thing again, but Jaden Blue, he did limp off and he actually technically got carted off, though it was one of the non-serious carting off issues. Just a bone bruise on his heel. He shouldn't be out for too long. But there was a quick scare for the Jaden Blue gang there when he limped off and then went to the tent and all that stuff. Amir Abdullah erasure. That's funny. I'm not erasing him. The team is, but agreed. It is technically erasure. Liam Cohen. So we just got to talk about the Liam Cohen thing with Travis Hunter. Of course, you saw on the thumb, and as we do in the fantasy streets, when a coach says something like, hoping that Travis Hunter can play 80% of the offensive snaps, we take it and run with it, and we plug it into our spreadsheets, and we say, see, Travis Hunter is going to play 80% of snaps in every single game. He's a smash, you idiots. Can't believe you were letting him get drafted in the 5th and 6th round. That's not exactly how I took that quote. I took it as like, this is what we would like to happen. And I think that is true. I think all along, you don't draft Travis Hunter 2nd overall without hoping that he can play a lot on both sides of the football. The concern for me, Devontae Adams just said this on a podcast the other day, which it's interesting that Travis Hunter got brought up in a podcast when Devontae Adams was on there. I'm not sure of the context of that. But like Devontae Adams was talking about how it's not that like he can't physically do it or mentally even do it. It's that can your body hold up to it? Like you're going to be getting hit just the same amount as everybody else is as playing wide receiver and putting all the stress on your body at wide receiver like everybody else is. And then you're going to have to tackle Derrick Henry on the other side, right? You have to tackle these beastly guys or get off blocks from these beastly guys and deal with the physicality. It's just a wear and tear. So I don't really think anything has changed for Travis Hunter. I think he's been an awesome pick after that tumble from the early 4th round to this new ADP. I think he's been an awesome pick, period. I actually don't think that quote really changed anything, but I understand why the excitement rises when we hear a quote. Yeah, this is true. One note you're missing is Travion Henderson is such a dog in pass pro. He's causing brawls at the joint practice. Such brawls that Mike Vrabel is hopping into the pile with the team and coming out bloody. That was the most football shit. That was the most like football guy stuff I've ever seen in my entire life. Travion is a dog in pass protection. He's fighting people because he's so motivated in trying to murder someone in pass protection, causing fights, and then his coach is diving into the pile to back up his teammates. Great vibes, elite vibes for the Patriots and for our boy Travion. I agree. Matthew Stafford is going to work out this weekend. I believe they said tomorrow, get a workout in, toss the pigskin, right? Get out there and sling that pigskin around, Uncle Rico style, and see how he feels. And if all goes well, he'll be back at practice on Monday. So all of the the insane reactions we all had, the fear about Matthew Stafford are probably just gone very quickly, which tells you about everything you need to know. If everything you need to know about this time of year and how chaotic it is. We haven't really gotten a lot of great updates about the Chiefs running back situation. So I did just think it was notable that Up until this point, Eli Mitchell had kind of been in part of that 3-man-ish rotation with the starters. Pacheco as the lead, Kareem Hunt as the dusty old vet that these teams love for whatever reason, and Eli Mitchell. Mitchell has since kind of fallen behind those other guys. This is just you beat speculation, so I'm not going to take it. You take it with a grain of salt. I'm not taking it too far, but that Eli Mitchell hasn't really hasn't popped, it doesn't look like he's regained, kind of what made him good with the Niners, at least as a rookie. That juice isn't necessarily there. And so he's off my board right now. There's just too many other late backs that I'm interested in. And so just not the guy I'm targeting right now. I know people will take this as a reason to draft Brashard Smith. And I think if you like Brashard Smith, that's fine, but this doesn't change anything. I want to make sure to reiterate, the comps of Brashard Smith to Jerick McKinnon are misguided. Jerick McKinnon was an awesome receiving back for the Chiefs for his entire career, but specifically for the Chiefs, because he's a tank and he's a beast of a pass blocker. He was out there because he was an awesome pass protector. He was 5'9", 215 pounds. He was a small little brick shithouse at the running back position, strong as hell, and then obviously a good receiver. Brashard Smith is a converted wide receiver who weighs 190, 195 pounds. He's skinny. He's not there. He's like if there's a change of pace wide receiver, he's a weapon. Brashard Smith is a weapon. He's not a passing down back. So don't call him Jerick McKinnon. He's not the next Jerick McKinnon. Pirine or Hunt are going to be playing on passing downs, not Brashard Smith. Though Brashard Smith might play some receiver and they might, throw him screens out of the backfield and design some stuff for him. But he's not this Eli Mitchell thing doesn't really necessarily impact Brashard Smith other than making the team possibly. Eli Mitchell could get cut, I think. And Brashard Smith could obviously then have a better chance of making the team, but he's not going to steal that specific job. Another thing just some things that I'm most interested in right now, not necessarily the absolute peak of the training camp news, but something that's and shout out to some of the folks like CJ in the Discord and some Packers fans and just some stuff that if we're going to call out the Bengals defense, now the Packers defense is not honestly not even going to be bad. I don't think, but if you want to talk about some secondary issues and what can create some fantasy goodness that's a little bit untapped and unprojected, right? The Packers project to be very run heavy because they were very run heavy last year. And maybe they will be again. But if defenses get worse, right? This happened. If you remember the year that Mark Andrews went absolutely nuclear and broke fantasy football, was the tight end one, was scoring 25 plus every single week. Well, it was because the Ravens, all of their defense got hurt, specifically their defensive backs. They were playing a bunch of backup defensive backs and XFL players and shit at corner. Well, the Packers aren't in those dire of straits just yet, but they're bad. They traded Jair and they did not really backfill at corner. They're a little bit light at corner. I'm not sure they're very good at corner anyway. And then addition Nate Hobbs, who frankly was bad last year. He graded out. I had it in front of me in PFF coverage grade. Nate Hobbs ranked 67th out of 120 something corners. So below average to below average was Nate Hobbs. He's their best. He's supposed to be at least their best corner. And then Xavier McKinney, who is a stud safety, also got hurt. Both of those guys are based on some Packer beats and the team. What the team has given us from an information perspective, going to miss all of camp. McKinney is saying he'll be fine they're both saying they'll be fine for week 1, but they're both also saying they're probably going to miss all of training camp. They're thin. They're so thin in the secondary. I don't know if you guys saw Bo Melton, who has been up until this point in his life and career, a wide receiver. He played wide receiver for the Packers for the last couple of years, is playing corner, is currently listed as the second string corner for the Packers. He was a wide receiver. And that's where the Packers are at corner right now. So if they do suffer some injuries, if this thing goes poorly, some of these experiments, these big bets they've placed in the secondary, I think we could be seeing some more shootouts in Packers games. And that's not how, the fantasy world is projecting it. They're projecting Josh Jacobs and, a bunch of meh passing game options, right? We like Matthew Golden. We like Jaden Reed. We like Tucker Kraft. But they're projected where they go where they are because of pretty basic copy paste from last year projections, right? If that's not the case, there can be some value in the Packers. I love Bo Melton. I love Bo Melton too. I drafted a bunch of Bo Melton last year because I think I thought he was good. And I thought he was a good wide receiver. I didn't think Dontavian Wicks and Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson and stuff were anything special. I feel vindicated in that. I don't feel so vindicated that the guy I drafted at wide receiver last year, they moved to corner. That doesn't make me feel very good. But I mean, it's awesome for Bo Melton. It's a pretty cool story especially if he succeeds. I'm rooting for him, but FYI, Sizzle says, I played both wide receiver and corner in high school. I can see Melton playing corner. I believe he played. Yeah, for sure. But like, there's just it's like, I mean, I played quarterback and defensive back. I played quarterback and cornerback in high school. And then I played corner and then I moved to safety. You couldn't just like put me back at quarterback, when I was 26 or whatever Bo Melton is. Like, it's at the NFL level. It's a pretty start. Like, I'm not saying he can't, like, he doesn't remember how to do it or remember how to backpedal or, all that kind of stuff. I'm saying to come in and cover Jamar Chase. He plays in the same division as Justin Jefferson. And the dude has been playing nothing but wide receiver for 6 years or 7 years or whatever it is. And now he's got to go cover the best wide receivers on the planet. It's quite a big step up for sure. Athletically and but technique, mentally, technique, fundamentals, and all that kind of stuff. It's just, I mean, just think about not doing something for that long. Sure, you can move, like, he's a top 1% athlete on the planet, but can you just quickly adjust? It's like you can't just like go play a new sport, right? Like Julius Peppers was a college basketball player at North Carolina. He couldn't just go play in the NBA, at age 27 or whatever without having played for 5 years or something. I'm rooting for him. Like I said, I like Bo Melton. Another just like notable thing because I think like absolutely no one seems to care about it. Michael Wilson has been banged up, and also Zay Jones has been like, other than Trey McBride and Marv. Zay Jones has been like the talk of Cardinals camp. If you remember, they didn't do anything to upgrade their offense. Zay was mostly hurt last year. And I think some of the Michael Wilson, like guaranteed routes, air quotes, that we are assigning to Michael Wilson look a little bit sketchier. I wrote monitoring Zay Jones because I'm not like acting on this thing, but every day there's the report yesterday or something. One of them was like, when they phrase it this way, your ears kind of perk up, of like yet another Kyler Murray to Zay Jones long connection or whatever. He's also playing on the right side in these. It's funny when you see, it's like, well, there's the Michael Wilson position and Zay Jones is crushing it there. They could move some guys around, but I don't think Marv or Zay are like as natural slot receivers. So I think it's just an interesting situation to monitor. Like, if you recall a few years ago on the Jaguars, Zay Jones was like a cheap best ball league winner. Does he still have that in him? I'm not sure, but I don't really draft Michael Wilson. And we just talked about the Bengals defense. Remember, who do the Cardinals play in week 17? The Bengals defense. And if you're looking for like other ways to get into the Cardinals or get into that week 17 game, right, a mega cheap Cardinals bring back or something, we're about to probably, right, Tory Horton's going to rise. Jalen Royals has already risen. Keaton's moving up, right? All of our last round picks are moving up, especially in 20 round drafts, are moving out of the 20th round range. We got to start backfilling with new guys. And so I'm monitoring someone like a Zay Jones in that spot. Another guy who's made it into my late rotation. Dameon Pierce returned to the Texans. I've made it well known, if this is your first time listening, if you're coming in, if you could hit the thumbs up while we're talking here, that would be absolutely phenomenal. It'd be much appreciated. I've made it known that I removed Joe Mixon and Nick Chubb both from my board. So I'm not at all interested in Joe Mixon and Nick Chubb. The news about Nick Chubb just sounds, speaking of the grandma at the nursing home, Nick Chubb should go join Naji Harris there based on most of the reports from Houston Texans staff. They try to compliment him. And it's if you're reading between, and certainly I'm probably coming at it with some bias, but if you're reading between the tea leaves, even the things that they say that are supposed to be compliments just sound that they're praising who Nick Chubb used to be, right? And they're calling him physical and stuff, but they never say he's explosive. They never say he's had juice. The first thing they said about Nick Chubb was, well, Father Time gets everybody. It's the first thing they said about Nick Chubb. Yeah, there's some rust, and he's taken a lot of hits and stuff. Was what the hell they were talking about Nick Chubb. I'm that doesn't sound very good. I've talked about the Joe Mixon stuff. I think Best Ball Bros are reading way too much into the Chubb quotes. See, I don't. Nick Chubb's going at pick 125 on drafters. That's specifically the kind of situation I want when they're telling us. And then it's not just telling us about Nick Chubb. Why I call it Dameon Pierce stepped right in to essentially the lead back in practice when he returned. I think I would probably bet that week one you see Dameon Pierce and Woody Marks splitting that backfield is what I would project at this moment. Does that mean you want those guys? No, that's a different conversation. We talked about Rashawn Slater and offensive line issues. The Texans have the worst offensive line in the NFL, which is a frightening thing with also bad running backs. But I go check out, I won't belabor it, Brett Coleman. I'm sure you guys know who Kollman, I believe, is how you spell his last name. Excellent, real life football YouTuber, podcaster, whatever you want to call it, and did a little breakdown about the offensive coordinator for the Houston Texans, who revitalized the Rams run game with Sean McVay, and everybody's credited it to Sean McVay, but this OC was part of the reason for kind of the renaissance of the McVay running game and the schematic changes, and how that's actually a pretty good fit for Dameon Pierce, this new scheme that the Texans are installing in their run game. So what does that mean? It's unclear, but I trust people I trust ball knowers, if you will. Brett is a very good resource to use. And when he kind of went deep about it, you can check it out on Twitter. So go look that up. If we were worried about Khalil Shakir, Sean McDermott just mentioned that Khalil Shakir should be available for week one. He said something he's had this before. He just needs a little rest, which I don't know if that was such positive news. He's had a bunch of high ankle sprains. That doesn't sound awesome to me for your slot receiver. But if you like Khalil Shakir and the market's really going to dip him, it sounds like they're pretty hopeful / expecting him to be available for week one. So something to think about with Khalil Shakir. Darren Waller will finally be off the physically unable to perform list in about a week, says Mike McDaniel. So if you're into the Darren Waller thing, he might actually be able to physically perform acts of a football player in about a week. Seems good for a guy who was recently retired, that he's able to physically perform the tasks of being a practice player for the Dolphins. Mason Taylor, rookie tight end, has a high ankle sprain. They speak glowingly about him. Obviously, every time someone talks about Mason Taylor, they have to mention his dad because he comes from obviously football lineage with Papa Jason. But I still am concerned about any rookie who basically misses the overwhelming majority of training camp, and including being at the tight end position. Jeremy Ruckert, I would imagine, is probably going to take the first snap at tight end as the tight end one for the Jets this season. Does that mean I want Jeremy Ruckert? Absolutely not. But a ding to Mason Taylor nonetheless. He should be fine early in the season, but then, like I said, they speak pretty glowingly about his intellect. So maybe not a big deal, but certainly a slow start for Mason Taylor should probably be the expectation. Some multiple Jordan Watkins mentioned in the chat, and I think we have to mention if it's a curse to be a running back on the 49ers, it's not any better to be a receiver for the 49ers. Ricky Pearsall is the healthy one, and that dude got shot last summer, literally took a gunshot to the chest or whatever it was last year. He's the healthy version of the 49ers wide receivers. Ricky Pearsall is dominating training camp for whatever that is worth. But Jordan Watkins has been stepping up as well. I kind of thought we might see like some Demarcus Robinson stuff, because those are the dust ball vets that you see sometimes step up and get positive hype. But it's been mostly Jordan Watkins, rookie out of Ole Miss. I think he's intriguing. And another guy like Zay Jones, I think, should start to enter our late round mix, right? This is the time of year when things are going to change quickly, especially with these preseason games. We talked about it the other day, like guys to target. Luckily, that went well so far. We talked about a lot of, particularly these rookies that we should target before these preseason games, and as well as Keaton, and that hit. So if this continues, right, if more of these, if Jalen Royals hits and whoever, Troy Franklin hits and whatever, Kevontae Turpin catches a long touchdown, if our late round guys start to rise because people are seeing it, oh yeah, this guy shouldn't go in the last round anymore, a la Tory Horton, we need a backfill with new late round picks. Last year, this worked really well when certain guys would rise up from the end of drafts. We backfilled with like Cedric you move on to thinner bets, but that landed us on like Cedric Tillman and Parker Washington. Bo Melton came in the mix. Those guys start to come in the mix at the end of drafts. And I think Jordan Watkins and Zay Jones have entered that discussion, right? They entered the chat. Jordan Watkins has entered the chat with all the Niners injuries and his play in training camp. Chris Godwin continues to fall in drafts, and I just think it's we don't have any real news, but what they keep reiterating is he's on track, he's on exactly on the timeline they are expecting, but they're not telling us what that really means. They're not giving us a specific timeline. They don't have, I'm not sure if they have one or if they're just not saying anything. They haven't said whether or not he will start the year on the PUP list himself, which would be missing the first, for they have not ruled that out. So it's definitely possible that Chris Godwin misses the first 4 weeks. I'm a little skeptical of that, but that's just my gut take. If they keep saying how positive everything is, which is exactly what they do, they keep saying that would tend to make me think that they are pretty hopeful for him week one. But like I said, they're being completely unclear about what the timeline is for Chris Godwin. So if you're interested in buying the dip, I think we're going to keep getting that dip until they are giving us a little more information. Just again, some of these late round guys that I'm always kind of trying to monitor. Noah Brown is out for this week, and he'll be reassessed next week. Obviously, Terry McLaurin is holding out. There's opportunity for someone in Washington. Whether or not Terry comes back. If Noah Brown is hurt, he got hurt earlier. In the summer, he's missed quite a bit of time. I still would probably put Noah Brown as the favorite to be, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. Those are I hate using those things, especially on these ancillary type guys. A starting outside wide receiver for the Washington Commanders. I would still place my chips probably on that with Noah Brown, but Luke McCaffrey is having a better camp. Jalen Lane obviously is a rookie, but he's a slot receiver, but they could play Debo outside and Jalen Lane in the slot. There's different guys with opportunity here in Washington. So I'm not pouncing on this one just yet, but again, something to monitor. I have a non-zero amount of Noah Brown. Yeah, Ja'Cory Brooks from Alabama transfer, who ended up at Louisville, had a very good year actually at Louisville, is intriguing, and also they have a lot of like slot type guys, which was why Noah Brown I thought was slightly appealing. I think Luke McCaffrey is more of a slot receiver. Jalen Lane is definitely more of a slot receiver. And I think Debo's best fit in this particular offense, maybe in any offense at this stage of his career, but is in the slot. And then you obviously have Zach Ertz, who's a tight end / slot receiver. So Noah Brown, being a very traditional boundary wide receiver, was kind of like a impactful way for him to get on the field. It's kind of like Keon and Josh Palmer with the Bills, where they're outside wide receivers, And like all the other guys are slot receivers. Like people are like Elijah Moore. It's like Elijah Moore is best in the slot. Khalil Shakir is a slot receiver. And Curtis Samuel is best in the slot. So those other guys have a path to a lot more routes. And Noah Brown had that too. Ja'Cory Brooks is one of those. And I think all of this stuff is potentially helping Ja'Cory Brooks make the roster as he continues to have a strong camp. So we'll see. I'm not going to jump out over my skis with the Commanders situation because it's not anything like catastrophic for Noah Brown just yet. But things are piling up with Washington for sure. And there might be opportunity for a Ja'Cory Brooks or a Luke McCaffrey or a Jalen Lane or someone like that in Washington that we didn't expect to see, just a few weeks ago. Last, but certainly not least, it wouldn't be a preseason if I didn't mention a positive note about Kendre Miller for the third goddamn season in a row. He is, of course, out from underneath the torture chamber that is Kendre Miller and Dennis Allen's relationship. New head coach Kellen Moore, of course, I think has spoken, saying, a little bit highly earlier in the summer about Kendre Miller. But the most important actual thing here is they haven't really talked about Cam Akers. Obviously, they brought in Cam Akers. There hasn't been much talk about Cam Akers, which it's fucking Cam Akers. What do you expect? I don't imagine he's like shining in training camp because it's Cam Akers. And that is what, kind of a dusty veteran at this point, which I don't even know how old Cam Akers is. It feels like he's almost locked to be a lot younger than I would think. But nonetheless, it's like Kyle Pitts, Jason Tatum, forever 21. Devin Neal, rookie 5th-round pick, who the market had put right ahead as kind of like the DJ Giddens of the Saints, of like, well, he's the rookie, so we want to take him over the Kendres and the Cam Akers as the air quotes backup, but like the whatever we would call it, not 1B to Alvin Kamara, because Kamara's going to play the majority of snaps, but you get it, right? Kamara doesn't play every single snap. Devin Neal, the market had as the fast track guy for that role. He pulled his hammy and is out multiple weeks, is what they said. So I suspect he will miss the rest of training camp. That's very bad for a rookie in a competition. And I think Kendre is sadly back on the menu in the last round. Again, Keaton ain't going to be a last round pick anymore. Okay. We've seen our guy like Kyle Monangai rise up. We've seen some of these other players rise up. We're going to get more. If Jarquez Hunter or Blake Corum pop, right? Those guys aren't going to be available in the last round. These kinds of guys are going to rise. We need to have these backfills. And I do think Kendre is at least in the mix. Let's hit some of you guys' comments here before we rip some drafts. Keaton went in the 180s in the 2 drafts Nick did last night on DraftKings. That's similar for me, partially because I took him. But nonetheless, Bree says, Godwin bet seems really risky. An aging receiver who broke his foot in 2 places. I got him twice out of 300 teams. It's definitely really risky, but I think the payoff is also really big. So it's just like, how do you want to play it? Do you think the payoff is as big as I do? Because I think Chris Godwin is like a star, especially in his role, right, out of the slot. But there's lots of risk, definitely. But we're getting a pretty darn good price, I think, to find out if the payoff is worth it. Any news on Taysom? I have not seen any news on Taysom Hill, but we will continue to monitor. Feel like we want running back talk, but most running backs play because they don't screw up, not because they shine. For sure. Definitely. I agree. Running back is typically a do we trust you type of a position. There's levels to that, right? Like Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry and those kinds of guys are different levels of football player, Jonathan Taylor. But, right, why did Leonard Fournette play over Ronald Jones? Why are we constantly wrong about these like, oh, this guy's a dusty vet, right? Why was Zeke still playing a couple of years ago? Like a lot, right? Why was everybody rants and raves about how bad Javonte Williams was the last couple of years? And he was bad. Why was Javonte Williams continuing to play, though, if he was so bad? Because the team trusted him, right? They trusted him to do his job and not screw things up. At a certain point, they don't even care if you're providing explosive runs and explosive plays. They don't have a better alternative, so just don't get your quarterback killed and go to the right place, right? Like, that's a lot of the running back battle. And so that's why we fixate a lot more on what the coaches are telling us, right? Why this time of year is not, I'm not going to, I know better the backfields. I'm going to listen to the coaches. When they tell me this guy is playing ahead of this guy, I'm listening. When they tell me this guy's pass protection is awesome, when they tell me they trust this guy, when Ben Johnson says, I think we found a guy we can trust in the fall in Kyle Monangai, like, I'm listening, right? Because it's much more about who the coaches trust, because all you got to do is get on the field at running back to score fantasy points. And that's all we're looking for. So, yeah, Frank Gore had a 55-year career for being reliable and trusted. That it just happens at the running back position. Nick says Ibuka up into the 60s. Yep, as he should be, I think. Now, any thoughts on the Ravens wide receivers? Wallace and Wester looked pretty decent. Tez nearly made a flashy catch. Nothing super special. Although last year on Wednesdays in the Spike Week Discord, which of course you can join, it's in the description. All the channel, you can either pay $5 a month to get access to all of the channels, or if you're a Spike Week Premium subscriber, it comes as a part of your subscription. Just sync your account on your account page. And every Wednesday, if you're a premium member of the Discord, we do what we call the lab at 6 p.m. Eastern. It's a hangout, right? We hop on a Zoom call and we it's a little bit more informal. People can ask questions and we can spitball ideas. And last year, the Jawan Jennings breakout was so bizarre, right? This like veteran breaking out into a superstar after being mid as hell for years. And Tylen, be like, who would be next year's Jawan Jennings? And I said Tylen Wallace was my candidate. He was a monster in college, and so I'm always going to hold out hope. I think for Tylen Wallace, though I do think Tez is a good football player too. What are we doing with these guys in drafts? Nothing for me. But I am happy to bet against DeAndre Hopkins. So I have a non-zero amount of Tez Walker, but I think it's more of like a let's monitor the situation. Shout out Chris says KJ Osborne in Washington as well. Pretty boring, but boring could get the job done in Washington too. De'Ami Brown turned into a pretty good pick last year. Let's see. Oh, D-Rob is getting suspended, Peppertoni says. So they probably don't care about him. Good call. Hello, friends. Jalen Hurd. Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's a name. There's a blast from the past. The 49ers are built on an ancient burial ground. They're like if anybody watched Parks and Rec, they're trying to build a new Paunch burger, and Leslie Knope throws some ancient Native American relics into the build site, so they have to stop doing it. Like somebody did that at 49ers camp. Somebody tossed some old Native American relics into the field right there, somewhere underneath that field, wherever the hell the 49ers are practicing. Let's see. I think that about good. Thoughts on Ty Felton for the Vikings? I haven't heard much about Ty Felton. He was quite good at Maryland last year, a little bit older, but I'm intrigued by Ty Felton. I also was shocked at the third round draft capital by the Vikings. Clearly they like him, but Mr. Jalen Naylor ain't giving that job away. Obviously for the first 3 weeks, they'll be without Jordan Addison, and both of them can play. But as you say this, I'm actually realizing I probably need to move these guys up in the eliminator, like a Jalen Naylor. But Jalen Naylor has been getting some pretty strong reviews from KOC and the Vikings. And so I still would lean to Jalen Naylor fends off Ty Felton right now. But that's just a vibes. That's just my vibe level take. Butte, Keyshawn Booty. is the Juwan Jennings of this year. Just hasn't ever been mid. Yeah, he's been terrible. He's a weird player. Kayshon Boutte is a weird player. Huge recruit. Does absolute Zippo at LSU, despite being a monster recruit, and then also didn't really do anything last year, but is currently fighting with Mac Hollins and all those Patriots wide receivers next to Diggs and Pop. I think he's in the mix. I think he's in the round 20 mix for sure. Coach speak doesn't count if we don't like the prospect. Exactly. Nickname being Speedy for Jalen Nailor is nice. I still think Jalen Nailor can play. I've thought this for multiple seasons now, so it's full-blown bias. But if you want my ball-knowing take, I think Jalen Nailor is a good football player. And they like him. So we'll see. Hard Knocks had a big Josh Palmer spot in episode 1. I have not partaken, but that is a good shout from Christopher. Eliminator question: how do you feel about Addison? 3 in Eliminator. Oof. I need a nice discount because obviously those are 3 very valuable weeks. Week 1, I'm less concerned about because 6 out of 12 advance in week 1. I feel like, my wide receiver rooms will be just fine without Addison. I do still want to have, as much opportunity to make it into week 4, right? With Addison. I moved him down a good chunk in Eliminator, but I'm intrigued. I don't have a great take. I think he's pretty bad, but if you build out like a 0 running back room, which I'm actually doing, like you can get sick teams that actually have weak, early season production at running back with an elite quarterback, an elite tight end, and like awesome wide receivers. If he's like your wide receiver 6 on a 0 running back build or something, I think it's okay in Eliminator, but I think there's a very set, type of team you want to build around Addison. I don't want to be reliant upon his score really ever. I want him to be the cherry on top that helps me, later in this. Like I'm building for him to be a later round, a late season type bet. Tim says, "Can we rip a DK Millie first?" Sure. Let's do a DK Millie. Go on over to DraftKings. Man, now we are in the thick of it, gents, because that was an hour going through all the camp news and preseason news. I guess that shit's to be expected when Keaton Mitchell pops off for 70 yards and a touchdown, and Will Shipley. I didn't even get a chance to talk about Will Shipley, so that's way back in the chat. I apologize for not addressing. Somebody said, like, are you concerned about Jesus, that felt quick. Are you concerned about the fact that AJ Dillon, was effective? And I think it was Shuby in the chat mentioned like he thought AJ Dillon just looked like AJ Dillon, but playing against shitty backup Bengals players, and that was my take as well. I care about the depth chart type stuff, and Will Shipley was very clearly ahead of AJ Dillon. Will Shipley looked good himself, and I'm just still not concerned with AJ Dillon personally. I think that's very much in the eye of the beholder. But what I would say is Will Shipley is ahead of AJ Dillon. They showed us that, right? So if you don't want to make that bet, that's fine. I totally understand it. Obviously, I'm making significant bets on Will Shipley, but the Eagles told us last night that Will Shipley is very clearly ahead of AJ Dillon, getting all of the quote unquote second team work at running back. Shipley looked explosive. No worries. I'd be interested in having one eliminator with wide receiver, then running back, then Rice, Godwin, Addison, then backfill and try to get through week 1. That's pretty interesting. DK mobile app finally has a draft board. Yeah, they've had that for at least a few weeks. right? It's been a little glitchy, though. I know that for sure. Let's see. Cards had Zay Jones last year. He's just their sacrificial X. No, I mean they had him, but he didn't. Let's see. Let's go to snaps. I just need to look up how many. I just want to double check the routes stuff. Yeah, so he ran 169 routes last year in not very many games. So his first game was in week 7 for Zay Jones last year. 27 of his total routes were in week 18 with other guys not playing. So Michael Wilson was the sacrificial route runner over there. That's why I wanted to bring up Zay, because he dang, somebody pulled up Neighbors. I guess I'll do Gibbs again. I'm getting a lot of Gibbs teams here, particularly on stream. Packers didn't really have Jair last year anyways, and their secondary was solid. Yeah, it was okay. If McKinney gets help. I also think the defense will be fine, but forgive me if the Packer fan doesn't maybe have just a hint of bias in the Packer take. They've been getting cooked in camp, right? Everybody's like, oh my God, look how good Romeo Doubs looks in camp. It's like, do you think there's maybe something going on there? Why Romeo Doubs keeps getting open? It's not that Romeo Doubs just turned into Randy Moss in one offseason. You know, that's the Jaguars take for me, is all these. And like, look, I draft the Jaguars are my single favorite stack. And when Corain and I did the ranking every team from a stack perspective in best ball, we ranked the Jaguars number 1. And so I'm very in on the Jaguars, right? But oh my God, Brian Thomas Jr. is cooking. Travis Hunter is unguardable. De'Ami Brown's making plays. Parker Washington's making plays. And it's like, okay, either they are that good on offense, which is certainly possible, or, hot take, the defense is bad. The Jaguars defense, which was very bad last year, is also bad this year. That's part of my Packers take, is I think the corners are bad. I think Xavier McKinney rocks, and I think the defense all around is going to be fine. But if it's a pass funnel, right? The Lions last year, as an example, the Lions defense was not that bad, but after they suffered some injuries in the secondary, they still, you couldn't run. You could not run at all on the Lions, but you could pass on the Lions. And from our fantasy lens, that's hugely impactful, is that if the front is still pretty good for the Packers, but they're banged up in the secondary, that's great for us. Let's definitely do some AJ Brown, little Gibbs AJ Brown. I hate how this gets laid out when it zooms. So let's go to just a tick zoomed out. Amen. Of course, Tikasaurus pulled up Neighbors. This is a great call. Striat says the 2023 Bucks secondary was a gold mine. Also, remember all those Jameis and Fitzmagic Bucks days? They're playing in all these 52-48 shootouts because the Bucks were so bad, just so bad on defense. Those are just gold mines that arise, right? And so I'm not like projecting it for the Packers, but I think it's in the range of outcomes, which would create some insane value on, like, we talked about this as well in the lab on Wednesday. So there's 3 elite tight ends. I think we all pretty much agree. Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, and George Kittle. The 3 elite tight ends from a fantasy perspective for this year. If a tight end, let's say outside the top 100, was going to make a leap into that category, who would be your favorite bet to make that leap? And I think the overwhelming favorite in terms of an answer to that question is Tucker Kraft. Like, from a talent perspective, like, he's a monster. if they just throw it more, Tucker Kraft is like the best tight end pick on the board. I'd like pick 125 or whatever he goes at, 130. That's insane. With his talent, no real clear wide receiver one. Like, forgive me if I don't think Romeo Doubs has turned into Randy Moss in the offseason. So Tucker, the offense could just become entirely based around Tucker, right? He could be the new Trey McBride or what have you for the Packers. Warren, yep, rookie Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, Tucker Kraft. I would agree. I would agree with that sentiment for sure. Lamar goes, okay, I have 25% of my Gibbs, AJ Brown teams have Allen, and I think I would like to wait to possibly take Hurts. Do I want Kittle? Let's wait on that tight end. Let's maybe think about Mr. Tucker Kraft. Let's do JSN here. True. Pack fan says Njoku. And the problem with Njoku is just like, I think we all think Njoku's good. It's just like, can he truly reach superstardom on the Browns? Maybe. Yeah, the Flacco point is definitely true. Yeah, did you see who was getting the tush pushes in the playoffs against the Eagles? Bingo. Untapped upside. Everybody talks about Tyler Warren getting carries and such when he was in college, of course, which he did as a Wildcat quarterback. But Tucker Kraft, untapped tush push upside because they don't want to get Jordan Love hurt. He's already banged up. Jordan Love also an interesting quote the other day. I don't remember when it was, and I'm going to screw it up. But he got hurt at the start of the season, and he kind of talked about he was never quite the same, or at least in terms of like trusting his body to like run and stuff. He wasn't using, because he's a decent athlete. He wasn't using his athleticism last year so much after the injury. So I thought that was notable as well. I'm just overall like pretty bullish on I've become more bullish on the Packers as the offseason has gone on. Cheaps, who doesn't? You can easily stack up Packers Ravens Week 17 matchup, like in any team, like literally any team. Stoic says you could play Winston and the opposing defense because you're a guaranteed 2 picks. Usually guaranteed a pick 6. That's how insane Jameis was. You're gonna guarantee a pick 6. It was like you'd root for it if you stacked the Bucks in DFS back then. Jameis with really anybody. Those are like OJ Howard days. I remember I won a live final qualifier on DraftKings playing Trubisky against those Bucks. And I had OJ, I played OJ Howard, and he didn't do anything special, I don't think, in that game. But Trubisky had a big game when he was on the Bears against the Bucks. But you would like always root, not when you played Trubisky, but when you would play Jameis to Evans, Jameis to Godwin, Jameis to OJ Howard, whatever, you would like be like, please throw this pick 6, throw this pick 6. And it was like a 50-50 proposition of whether Jameis was going to throw a pick 6 to start the game. Because then that's when you get the 55 pass attempts, right, in the insane fantasy games. Let's do Hurts. Aren't you worried about Luke Musgrave? Yeah, exactly. That is the perfect aren't you worried. Am I worried about Luke Musgrave, who Tucker Kraft already buried last year? No, sir. No, I am not. Aren't you worried about the Packers' playoff schedule? Nope. Nope. Not if they are forced to throw. If you play good teams and you have to throw, I'll take it. Won a lot of money in fantasy with Jameis. Jameis has been the gift that kept on giving in fantasy football, in all formats of fantasy football, and all formats of gambling on football. Jameis has been a gold mine. And we're sad to see him leave our lives. Even last year, God, he was bad, but man, he was so Jameis. That was watching a guy who was never really that good, but was straight YOLO ball, now be very bad, but still be YOLO ball last year. Just awful throws. Just so many awful throws and so many bad decisions, but goddamn, it was good for fantasy. He turned Cedric Tillman into a fantasy star. Packers truthers want Malik Willis to start. Well, Packers truthers need to learn a little bit of ball. You ain't winning the Super Bowl with Malik Willis. You need Jordan Love to win the Super Bowl. I'm not saying you're going to win the Super Bowl anyway, but if you want to reach a ceiling that takes you to the Super Bowl, Malik Willis ain't the answer. He is a perfectly reasonable guy to bit like right. They built a fun. I really what the hell is the LaFleur, the Packers head coach LaFleur. I really respected and I gained a lot of respect. I already respected him a lot anyway as a coach, but I gained a lot of respect when Jordan Love got hurt for being able to quickly adapt and build this offense around Malik Willis that was still really successful. But I don't think that was because Malik Willis is awesome. I think that's because LaFleur is sharp, is very, very sharp. Back on the clock. Just realized I need to move my dome here. Oh, baby. Get the double stack going. Get the Eagles double stack. AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. I'm going to have so much Devontae and Zay. Tikasaurus took Zay there in the 5th round. These guys going the 5th. T-Mac in the 5th. Tim mentioned he got Marv in the 4th here at the 403. Getting Marv is sick. Like the wide receiver values. Like the fact that you can take multiple detours away from wide receiver and still get sick wide receiver rooms is just like, it's an absolute dream. Jameis is modern day Flacco. So disrespectful. Imagine. Yeah. So it's technically Jameis is not like out of our lives. He's on the Giants, of course, but he's the wide receiver, the quarterback 3 on the Giants. So, some catastrophic things would have to happen, but it's technically not impossible for him to be throwing to Malik Neighbors this year. Are we concerned at all about the lad injury they're not telling us about? Aren't you worried? Yeah, always, but not yet. I'm not acting on it. That is in the aren't you worried? Yes, but I'm not doing anything about it. I'm anxious. It has created anxiety, but I'm not doing anything. Right? I'm not going to therapy. I have the anxiety, but I haven't called up BetterHelp yet. Oh yeah. We had so much news today. I didn't even get a chance to mention this, but for Best Ball says, sorry if you said it. I'm just catching up. Are you still doing the 3 drawings today? Yes. I have the wheel. It's right there on my other screen over here. For everybody who commented on one of the videos this week, if you're new here, next week, every Friday leading up to the season, I'm going to give away 3 tickets to the Drafters main event. So their $20 tournament, $500,000 to first place over on Drafters. Our good friends over there have given me a bunch of free tickets to give away over the course of the summer. So every Friday, I will give away 3 free tickets to the Drafters main event. And today, we will spin the wheel at the Abuka time. I'm just continuing to take Abuka because I think the rise is going to keep happening, by the way. But to enter your name onto said wheel to potentially win one of the 3 tickets on Fridays, all you got to do is comment on one or multiple of the videos each week. There are lots and lots of videos on the channel here. If you have not seen, each week we will have a Monday night show. I have a new video coming out on every Tuesday, and then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I am live at this time, 10 a.m. Eastern, every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We have a new series that just started, which will probably be recording episode 2 of our slow draft. Myself, Rob, and Bernie are in a $555 draft, but a slow draft on DraftKings. We teamed up and we are recording our analysis for every pick or two that we make in that. We dropped the first video of that on Wednesday. So there's going to be a whole bunch of content. You'll have plenty of opportunities to get entered to win if you would like. You can also use code SPIKE on Drafters if you have not signed up yet for Drafters. If you use code SPIKE when you sign up, you get a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. Lad will be hurt all the time and Harbaugh won't give any details. That is probably true. Nick says I'd legit click Devontae before Lad if I had to. The beauty is that we don't Lad before JSN if he had to. I respect it. I mean, I freaking love Devontae Smith. So I'm gonna have. I mean, I've made it known with my Eagles love, but the Devontae Smith price is just so stupid. Doesn't make any sense. Speaking of a defense that's going to get worse, well, I think the Eagles and the Packers things are pretty similar. No one thinks they're going to be bad, but any step back at all creates more passing volume. And all we need, I don't care how it happens. I just want more. If the Packers and Eagles throw more, all their weapons are underpriced. The pass game weapons. That's all we're really seeking out. Wow. Speaking of Packers, Jaden Reed. Round 7, Jaden Reed. We've started with Jahmyr Gibbs, AJ Brown, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, Jalen Hurts, and Devontae Smith. So we got the Eagles double stack here in this one with Emeka Buka and Jaden Reed. I mean, those wide receivers plus Jalen Hurts, Eagles double, and having Jahmyr Gibbs in round 1 feels pretty good. Ooh. How do you rank these 3 late round tight ends? Higbee, Kmet, Michael Mayer. Higbee number 1 for sure. Oh God. Michael Mayer and then Cole Kmet. We'll do that. I would prefer not to draft any of Cole Kmet or Michael Mayer. Michael Mayer, at least I can talk myself into this contingent value, right? Michael Mayer was an awesome tight end prospect. I'm a little bit shocked at the way his career has turned out. Obviously, had to step away with some mental health stuff that hopefully he's gotten rectified. Shout out to him for taking care of himself. But it's just a total straight flyer. I actually quite like Tyler Higbee on certain teams. You know, like a late round tight end room of like Isaiah Likely, Tyler Higbee, and like Harold Fannin or something seems pretty fun to me. Use Higbee to chaperone your other tight ends out of the gates. Raiders have supposedly been running a ton of 12 personnel. They did lead the league in 12 personnel last year. Now, different coaching staff, and they added 2 rookie wide receivers. So not quite. Let's see here. Jordan Mason. 27% of my Jalen Hurts teams have Jordan Mason on them. Do I want that, or do I want to go? I'm trying to keep boosting up my Tyrone Tracy, so I'm gonna give somebody else this slight value on Jordan Mason, unless he falls all the way back to me. In which case, I will take him. Then I think Higbee could be sneaky with some random spikes. He's always been a TD magnet and looked good at the end of last year, says Mac. I agree. Who's to say that Ferguson just takes over from Higbee? Ferguson could be the long-term bet. They could let Higbee go after this year, and Ferguson is the bet for next year, right? The Ben Sinnott. Tyler Higbee could absolutely be this year's Zach Ertz. Easily. He was good when he came back. He's always been solid. I don't see why there's any reason to believe that Higbee can't hold on to that job. I'm not saying he will, but I'm saying why can't, right? They're trying to win the Super Bowl. If Higbee gives them a better chance to do it than Ferguson, there's no reason that rookies have to take over. The Ben Sinnott thing that could easily happen with the Rams. Bree says Tracy is his highest owned running back. Tracy was sort of a guy I glossed over for much of the summer, and I'm rectifying that a little bit here. Do we think Stafford is playing? Yes. So if you missed it at the top when we walked through the news, we got some Stafford news. He's going to work out this weekend. He said whatever that means. I don't know. I don't know if it's leg day or arm day or core day. His workout. I'm obviously kidding. He's going to go throw, right? He's got a back issue, so he's going to go see that he's fine. And then, assuming he is fine this weekend at his workout, Stafford will return to practice on Monday, was the report from Sean McVay. So, all indications are pretty good. I'm pulling up Tucker Kraft, guys. You guys got me on this Packers idea, and I need to get more. I really do need to get more Green Bay Packers onto my teams, and I would really like to get fairly significantly overweight on Tucker Kraft. Agreed. I was about to say that Higbee gives me Ertz vibes. He's a vet that's been there a long time. I don't see him losing the starting role without an injury. That's pretty much how I feel. I was taking more of him earlier in the summer than I am now. I'm obviously a Harold Fannin guy, but I think Higbee has his place on teams for sure. We've definitely wish-casted Higbee going away. It feels very Ertzian. But Christopher brought up the 12 personnel stuff with the Raiders, and as is tradition for me, I forgot to finish my thought. But they led the league in 12 personnel usage last year. Just shy of 40% of their snaps were in 12 personnel. Now, last year the receivers that they had were, but who's to say that Dante Thornton and Jack Besh, excel? Trey Tucker is just, the downfield gadgety type guy. Besh hasn't exactly been popping in camp, though Dante Thornton has. Obviously, Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers are a thing, but there's no reason that they can't play Michael Mayer. And I would just rather have the Brock Bowers contingent value attached to Geno in that offense than the Cole Kmet stuff behind Colston Loveland. Like, we've kind of seen Cole Kmet, and he hasn't really been fantasy useful for quite some time. So if that's my upside case, I'm not like super excited about that. I've also really been trying to get. I got to take Sharps and see. I got to take Sharps and see if Love comes back. If Love doesn't come back, it will be totally fine. I've got JSN. I can stack JSN. This seems like a pretty friendly room. Tikasaurus has 2 quarterbacks. This guy has Baker. This guy has Dak. So there might be some quarterback selections here. We'll see. Do they have Golden? Yeah. Okay. So the Tikasaurus is the guy who has Golden, and he already has two quarterbacks. So let's hope that all these guys stay in their lane. Let me have Jordan Love. Quill says, I see Njoku falling a lot. Yeah, Njoku will fall in certain rooms, like, for sure. A little Pitts, Penix, double tap there at the turn. That's fun. I do like Njoku. I actually quite like, hilariously, I like 3 tight end rooms with both of these guys, but taking Njoku and Fannin on the same team. You want to talk about a team that's going to use 12 personnel? I think they might be like they're two of their best offensive players, right? And the fan and drumbeat is awesome. Very excited to see him in action in the preseason. But so by the way, speaking of guys you should draft before they pop in the preseason, Harold Fannin, add that to the list. All right. Hopefully Love got back, unless Tikasaurus is going to take Love on a Lamar and Jaden Daniels team. Sweet. Jordan Love comes back. Oh, yeah, baby. We are rocking. We are rocking here. Now I forgot what I was even talking about. This happens so much. I promise that's not normal in my normal life, though I do have a little bit of a dog with a laser pointer in me, for sure. Komet strikes me as a similar bet as Higbee, and Loveland is still hurt, right? I don't think he's Colston. Loveland was a top 10 pick. Terrence Ferguson is a late second rounder. I don't think I would classify them as a similar bet. Like Colston Loveland was like, this is a different level of first of all, Colston Loveland was a significantly better prospect, and I think that the draft capital like we're talking this is an extremely high draft capital pick for Colston Loveland, right? Ahead of Tyler Warren. He's the tight end one in the class. It's a new regime, right? So McVay has had Tyler Higbee for 10 years. Ben Johnson has never had Cole Kmet, and his first act in this new situation was to draft a tight end in the top 10 of the NFL draft. That's part of he is a rookie, so like anything can happen. I don't think there's as many like feathers in the cap of the Cole Kmet stuff. Also haven't really heard much about Ferguson in camp just yet. For sure, understand that, but being way behind the 8 ball at tight end is a real risk of not being able to overtake in year one. Is he practicing? Let's see it. Let's just quickly look at DK and see if he has a new blurb. Yeah, see, he was already getting first team reps at the end of July. I haven't looked at. Let's just double check. The latest Poly Market just tweeted that Cole Kmet can't catch, so that's funny. Bears reporters can't stop gushing over Colston Loveland at Bears camp. They just posted, the Bears just posted a video of Colston Loveland catching a pass from Caleb Williams 14 hours ago on social media. So I'm going to suspect that he is. Oh boy, I do not want to. We got to go get Dylan Sampson here. I want to make sure we don't auto Mr. Nick Chubb. That's funny. Loveland could outscore Laporta, says WFN Warehouse. I respect that. I think that's definitely true. That's definitely true. In Dynasty, Conciliar says Loveland is tight end 1. No. Brock Bowers. This is Brock Bowers' erasure. Brock Bowers is tight end 1. I would put Trey McBride tight end 2. Loveland can be tight end 3 in Dynasty. Oh, and rookie drafts. Rookies. Yeah, definitely. I'll put Loveland over Warren. They're close, though, in rookie drafts. I was about to say, tight end 1 over Brock Bowers. God damn. I like Colston Loveland, but not that much. But I get it. That makes sense. I have my rookie draft coming up next Saturday. My long-running Dynasty League. I got the 103 and the 106 because I can't fucking win in my own. I have a goddamn channel where I talk about fantasy football year-round, and I can't ever win in a freaking home Dynasty League against my high school buddies. But I have Brock Bowers on that team, so I don't need it. I also have Tucker Kraft, actually. Brock Bowers. My tight ends are quite good. Jaden Daniels, Justin Jefferson. How'd I get third to last? I don't know. Brock Bowers, Justin Jefferson, Jonathan Taylor. Well, Jonathan Taylor was a reason why I got third to last, because he didn't come on until it was too late. Let's go get Braylon. Somebody asked about, hold on. Stoic, how do you feel about Ford versus Sampson? I'm very much Sampson over Ford, but I have a non-zero amount of Ford on, particularly like some teams where I think it makes the most sense that I need, he could definitely be a very chaperone type guy early in the season. I probably should have put on the notes. I apologize because it wasn't like a training camp or a preseason nuggets yesterday, right? Quinshon Judkins waived his right to a speedy trial for his legal issues. And what does that mean? It essentially means that he has a right to a speedy trial, which would be in like 45 days or something from when he was arrested or charged, for when he was charged. The right to a speedy trial is like 45 days. I'm not a lawyer, okay? So this is just me regurgitating something that I read. The exact time doesn't matter. But if he chose to have a speedy trial, right, he would go to court quicker and thus get this thing resolved quicker. He waived that right, which means this trial could wait for 175 days or something like that. They said it could be that far into the future. And so seems like we're not going to get resolution on Quinshon Judkins anytime soon. And so I've also pretty much just, as somebody just took him, I pretty much just removed Quinshon Judkins from my board, and I'm prioritizing the rookie, right, that they just drafted in the 4th round, not the veteran that they made take a pay cut in Jerome Ford. But I think Jerome Ford has his place, certainly. Any tight end gaps here in my exposure? No. Let's do Algier. You guys know me. I also do really like taking the contingent value bets on these teams. The Bink King. I see 0% Tillman for you, says breathing fantasy football literally. Yeah. I don't have a problem with Cedric Tillman. I have him ranked like close enough to where he goes. I think we're paying a little bit of a premium because of the Jameis effect from last year. Like he was really not very good. He just ran a lot of routes on a team that threw the ball a million times. Cedric Tillman did last year. He wasn't that good. Now he is a starting running back. He is a starting wide receiver on a bad NFL team that might also have to pass again. So I think it's fine. I just much prefer. There's so many running backs that go, in the Tillman ranges, and then I can just find the next Tillman later, or try to find right. I love Tory Horton, Jalen Royals, those kinds of guys. I can get routes with some upside from guys later in drafts. That's kind of my preference, and then prioritizing these running backs that go like in that Tillman range. You're not worried about Sampson's fumble issues? Guy was a fumble machine his senior year. No. It's similar to the, I just haven't called better help on it. Am I worried? I'm worried about absolutely everything. If I haven't reiterated it enough, or if you're new, anytime somebody asks, aren't you worried about something? The answer is undoubtedly yes. But am I worried enough that I'm not going to take a rookie who might just be the Browns starting running back from day one, who was the offensive player of the year in the SEC last year, put a dog shit Tennessee offense on his back and was the player of the year in the SEC? Am I worried about his fumbling? So much so that I'm not going to draft him? No, that is not that big of a concern for me. let's do Dante Thornton here on this team. Trying to get a little bit more of him as well. Yeah, Samson was also a TD machine. I saw a beat writer tweet that Tillman is looking like Falco's. This is hilarious. That is an excellent Freudian slip. Falco's favorite target. Shane, notably, Joe Flacco and Shane Falco, the same guy. Oh. Same guy. Very, Joe Flacco does give out Shane Falco vibes. That is for sure. It's definitely possible. I don't think Cedric Tillman is as good as David Njoku or Jerry Jeudy or Harold Fannin. So just my personal take. I mentioned it. I drafted a decent clip of Cedric Tillman, more so in 20-round drafts last year. It went well. It was great. I'm just looking for the next Cedric Tillman. I can get routes and some spike weeks from some other guys too. But I get it. I have honestly got absolutely zero pushback on Cedric Tillman. I think he's fine. I just have other preferences in terms of how I'm putting together my teams. Let's see. There goes Shipley. Sons of bitches. All right. So since Shipley is gone, when did Keaton go? Did anybody see? Take Jalen Royals before he shoots. Where did Keaton go? Naji. Did I just miss it? I know I'm not going to get him now did I miss him in the what? Where the fuck is Keaton? Who took him? I'm not mad. I'm not mad. Don't ask me if I'm mad. I'm just trying to see where he went. How can I not find? Why can I not see this dude? There he is. Literally right next to me. 173. I think that's probably about where I expect we'll start seeing him go. Thank you, Bernie. Tika needed him. Oops. Milroe looked good last night in a game where Pete Carroll was trying so hard to win a revenge game. Darnold down, Milroe up. No. I thought Milroe looked like Milroe. Good runner. I thought he looked fine, yeah, but I don't think it matters to Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold didn't play. Milroe didn't even play to start the game. So I certainly don't think it was bad if you like Jalen Milroe, but I'm not making any adjustments to like my Seahawks projections because of that game. Tory, speaking of Seahawks, have JSN. I like adding Tory Horton to JSN teams. Darnold like injured. Darnold's healthy. He's not hurt. Caldwell says, last night was terrible for me to keep getting Keaton in round 17 and 18 going forward, wasn't it? Yep. Yep. Hope you packed him. Like we don't get them all. Like it doesn't always. Sometimes you get Jermaine Burton and sometimes you get Keaton Mitchell. But like this is why we pack our bags on these guys who fit the profile of the guy who can shoot up based on preseason play, preseason reports. This is why the other day when we do the show, we say target these guys, target Tory Horton, target Jalen Royals, target Keaton Mitchell, right? Target all these guys before they go out and play in the preseason, because all it takes is one good play and the world is going to become all these people who were fading them before are in the last round. When we were taking him in the last round, they're going to take him in the 15th now. And so pack your bags before. You can still take them in the 15th. Like, I'm still going to take a lot of these guys. And like we said, now we backfill. Dameon Pierce comes into play, and fucking Zay Jones comes into play, right? These guys come into play now at the back end, and you can just get different permutation, right? Instead of having him with Dante Thornton, instead of having Keaton with Dante Thornton, now you have Keaton with Zay Jones or whatever. And like, who gives a shit about that 2v2? It doesn't matter. So you can still get the guy, but if you don't want to, like, if you don't want to have to chase them up into the 15th round, we have to hammer them before the big plays happen in the preseason. 2681. Speaking of, let's go get our guy Harold Fannin now before somebody takes him, because I know that there are obviously Tikasaurus is here in this drafting a lot of guys that we like, notably Keaton Mitchell. I pick 173. Let's see. Keaton bags are packed from Philly Phantom. Thank God. It does feel good. That was fun. That was a lot of fun. The big run. What's crazy is the touchdown run was good. It was blocked up pretty well. And I think the offensive line did a lot of that work, but he showed the juice. But the run that I thought I was like, oh shit, okay, he's back, was the play he bounced to the outside before the first big run that he had. The touchdown run was impressive, but the first big run was like, oh shit, yep, he's back. That's Keaton. He's back. That's funny. I hope you meant useful. Eric, your preseason updates are by far the most useless. I'm assuming you meant useful. Or at least that's what me in the chat are thinking. The most useful fantasy football info out there. You deserve more followers, but I greedily enjoy your falling on less ears. I really appreciate that. Thank you. That's those are extremely kind words that I really appreciate, and I hope other people find it to be useful. I think it is one of the things that we've like kind of built Spike Week around from a best ball perspective is like this time of year really, really honing in on the news, what coaches are saying, depth chart stuff, trying to spot the Keatons, you get stuff wrong. Like nobody is perfect. I'm exceptionally far from perfect. I have plenty of bad takes. I've had plenty of misses, tons. But I think, Jarquez. Let's do Dameon Pierce to close out this running back room, and then we'll. I could do a third tight end. I know some people would do the third tight end on this team, and I totally get it. I'm gonna add a wide receiver to this room. I actually quite like betting on the like Tucker Kraft, Harold Fannin level breakouts. I understand why someone would say just draft a third tight end on this team. I absolutely think that you can. You guys cut through the noise, says Shriath. That's 100% what we're trying to do is like, right. You guys also need to go subscribe to Coach Speak Index. Because that's where I get a lot of. I read every single thing that Greg posts in the Coach Speak Index Discord. And of course, you can follow him on Twitter, and he has a YouTube channel as well, so you can get some of that information. But I find it to be most helpful in the Discord, which is very cheap, super cheap to get in there. 32 beat writers and Coach Speak Index. I read basically every single thing, and it's super important at this time of year, right? How do you find out to get on board Keaton before he shoots way up? It's like following the news, grinding the news of training camp and stuff. We knew that Will Shipley was the backup before. We knew that Tory Horton was a good late round target before he scored the touchdown. Everybody else is waiting for them to score the touchdown in the preseason. We want to get on these guys before, right? We were on the Kyle Monunga, I think, before they said he's Swift's backup. Before, that's and some of those are going to be wrong, right? But I would rather try to get ahead of all, right? Try to get ahead of Jordan Mason, try to get ahead of Kyron Williams, try to get ahead of Chuba Hubbard, try to get ahead of all those guys rather than wait like everybody else does and then chase them up the boards. So that's the goal. That's what we're trying to do, and hopefully some of it helps. Is oh my God, Johnny Wilson rising up in ADP is absolutely hilarious. Who are we trying to? Well, I think we can. How about should we do the Zay thing? Let's do that. Let's take our first Zay Jones share. Why not? If we're talking about all this news, let's be about it. Don't just talk about it, be about it. Go get all the newsworthy guys here in the last round. Being an adult and took my first Higbee and Renfro shares. Let me I don't know how Renfro got into this team, Tim, but I do respect the Tyler Higbee selection. Let's run down this team, draft a BBM squad. And then we will let everybody go like this is class, right? Jahmyr Gibbs, AJ Brown, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, Jalen Hurts, of course. Eagles stack. Get the Eagles double with Devontae Smith, Emeka Buka, Jaden Reed, Tyrone Tracy. I've mentioned a lot about the Packers. I mentioned a lot about Ibuka. I mentioned a lot about Tyrone Tracy lately. We talked a lot about Tucker Kraft, Zach Charbonnet continuing to try to boost my bags there. Got lucky / it was sharp. I don't know. Sharp if I want the confirmation bias. Lucky if I want to be honest. Jordan Love falling back there, pushing him the extra round on DraftKings is always scary, but it works nonetheless this time. Dylan Sampson, we kind of talked about that. We talked about the Quinshon Judkins thing. Braylon Allen, Tyler Algier. And then we get into our rookie wide receiver bag. Dante Thornton, Jalen Royals, Tory Horton, rookie Harold Fannin, Dameon Pierce, who is currently my favorite bet to be the Texans, to get the first carry for the Texans in week 1 is, I guess, how I would classify it. And Arizona Cardinals hype man, Zay Jones. Are there drafters tickets giveaways today? Mac asks. Yes, I missed some of the early part of the stream. Yep, I'm gonna pop on over to Underdog, draft a BBM team with you all, and then we will give away the drafters. This will be team 101. This will be my 101st Best Ball Mania team. 100 in. It's going to tilt me, by the way. I will have to do 4 more BBM drafts today. I can't stand this. This insane OCD is so unhealthy. The fact that it'll show if I go to BBM, like if I go to my Draft IQ page and it shows 101 BBMs entered, or I go to my Underdog page and you click on BBM and it shows 49 left, that will tilt me to no end. Like it has to be on 0 or 5. I can't do it. Exactly. We'll get back into the drafters streets soon. I apologize, mules. Oh, we got a room here. We got a fun room. A lot of big names, says Nolan. That's good. Hopefully everybody stays in their lane, and hopefully they draft some more quarterbacks and tight ends. Getting love so late feels so lovely. Puppy 3 is out. Bernie, thank you for letting everybody know. Tough room. Drafters has the super flex that would be fun to see your take on. Yeah, I'm in there. I'll make sure to get. I'm trying to figure out schedule. I can't do something later today. I'm recording with Pat, and then I do like the new board on Underdog. I do need to zoom out a little bit to fit the whole thing, though. This evening, I'll have you know that we're going to a Mediterranean cooking class. The wife and I. I'm quite looking forward to it. Making some gyros and hummus and such, which I'm a big fan of, but I'm definitely not a Mediterranean cooking expert. So I'm going to learn, and then I can make gyros for everybody whenever we get a Spike Week in-person get-together. Ooh, BTJ. OMG takes BTJ 107. I'll take Neighbors then. New board makes it easier to balance out smilers and non-smilers on your team, says Peppertony. Philly Phantom is multi-tabling. Yeah, the super flex on drafter. So anyway, I'm trying to think of the best way to schedule it. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe we'll do something fun tomorrow. Maybe I'll join Rob on Sunday. It's unclear, but I definitely need to get some drafters, super flex out there. Need to get in just some. The one thing about drafters, again, apologize Mules for not being able to pop in one of those with you, is that you will notice if it's your first year here with us at Spike Week, we will be overloading you with drafter stuff in the last 2 weeks of the summer. They will be probably overlaying. They will be probably giving out some promos and some more free tickets. So we're giving you free tickets here. Drafters might give you some free tickets also. And there's a lot of opportunity and hopefully some new blood coming in to the damn it. I took Neighbors so I could try to take Brock Bowers, and naturally he goes. Puka Genti at the 1-2. Wow. Damn it. Well, this is not going how I hoped. Let's pull up McBride. Four smilers. That's great. That is excellent. Well done. A messy plate of Mediterranean dips with pita is the best shared meal in the game. I'm very excited. For that. For Best Ball says new Great Dane, $25K to first, $250 entry. 4 out of 12, 2 out of 8, 1 out of 4, 11 seat. Final thoughts on these? Do you play them all? I focus a little bit more of my higher stake stuff on DraftKings. It remains to be seen if I will get to this one, but I do like I like these, and I like how Underdog. So DraftKings does. We talked about this yesterday, but we also talked about this on the slow draft, the 555 slow draft video. DraftKings pretty much does always, every single tournament, even the higher stake stuff, almost always is still 2 out of 12 in the regular season. Then they'll make the advancements in weeks 15 and 16 and or the week 17 final smaller. What Underdog is cool of what they did here is actually make it 4, right? So 33% of teams advance instead of 2 out of 12, double the amount of teams advance from the regular season, which is pretty fun, but it does change the strategy. And I think what people will do in those drafts is actually play at what they think is safer because it's 4 out of 12 advance, but you can play it riskier. My good friend and of course Spike Weeker Rob Coakley last year or 2 years ago in the Mastiff, which was $1,000 buy-in on Underdog. It was 6 out of 12. So it was a 50-50. 6 out of 12 teams advanced in the first round. Damn, JSN day. JSN day on Spike Week. With 6 out of 12 advancing, you got people playing it even safer. And Rob drafted a solo quarterback, only Patrick Mahomes on the team. Not only did he advance, he made the final. He made the final of the Mastiff that year. And so I'm not saying you need to draft solo quarterback. I probably still wouldn't draft solo quarterback, but you can draft like extreme zero running back or something like that and be in better shape in those tournaments. You can like really onslaught an offense even more than you might, take all the Eagles or whatever, take all the Jags or, something like that in those contests a little bit more than you can in these larger fields, because you really don't need the level of scoring from your team like you do in Best Ball Mania. You got to finish 2 out of 12, but then in weeks 15 and 16 are brutal. 1 out of 16, that's rough. And then you make it through that gauntlet. You advance weeks 1 through 14. You advance in week 15. You advance in week 16. You're into week 17. Congratulations, over 500 other awesome teams, and you got to finish first. That's fun. We play these because there's life-changing money up top, and the sweat is incredible. But those other tournaments, in terms of like how you can structure your teams to not have to be, hit this insane, if you finish like a 70th percentile or whatever in a tournament like that, you're good. Six hole with the boomer room. Oh man, yeah. Saquon, Derrick Henry, and Josh Allen back on the clock. I don't want to do let's do Pickens. I don't have I have Pickens on Neighbors McBride teams, but I don't have him with JS. I don't have this start. Neighbors, Trey McBride, and JSN in BBM. Let's see. Mediterranean diet is very good for you. Everything cooked in olive oil. Jonathan, I'm trying to understand the 0 and 5 thing, but that it's next level OCD. Diagnosable, perhaps? Definitely. It's quite funny. People have asked, like, aren't you worried, like, multiple times in a couple hours here today? And of course, it's a question that just constantly comes up when you talk about best ball for a living or fantasy football for a living. Aren't you worried about this? And as I said, my answer is always yes, but I'm not like acting on it. But the thing that I am like so anxious about and acting on is the 0s and 5s. I don't know. I don't get it. I'm not that way. Like some people are, I can be that way with the volume on the TV, though I have, that has slowly changed over the years. I'm less anxious about the volume on the TV, but there's definitely lots of little nuances of OCD that I have in my brain, for sure. Consigliere says Brock or McBride and shut it down in the high advance rate tourneys. I agree. I totally agree with that. That's a strategy I love. Just beat the shit out of these guys, right? Beat the shit out of these guys at the other positions and just let Bowers and McBride either win you the tight end position or keep you afloat. Obviously, you take a 0 in 1 week. Oh no, a 0 in 1 week. And then you don't have to be so perfect, right? 2 out of 8 in week 15. Like you don't need even if there is a huge game from a tight end, it's unlikely that someone even has them. And you have a superstar, Bowers or McBride or Kittle. You have that superstar. They're also the most likely guy to spike. It's definitely a strategy that I like to employ in those tournaments. Yeah, exactly. Oh no, my 5 tight end points. Whatever will I do? How will I advance? Oh wow. That's a fall from DJ Moore. I'm pretty sure we have to take him. As much as I would love Travis Hunter, and I don't have Travis Hunter much with these guys, I think it is pretty mandatory that we take DJ Moore here. Nolan doesn't like when the volume ends in 0 or 5. It's got to be one of the other numbers. That's hilarious. Subconsciously contrarian. You're a unique combos guy on the TV volume. How am I not the unique combos guy on the TV volume? But Nolan is. Is the King of the Desert qualifier worth entering? Yeah, I apologize. I think somebody asked about this yesterday and I didn't get a chance to get to it. I think so, but it's as much of like a potential life EV hack as it is a, functional monetary EV thing with the King of the Desert. So they haven't announced all of the specifics about it, but what happens is they run a bunch of these qualifiers. If you win, first of all, if you win, you get I believe a couple $1,000 min cash. I forget exactly the specifics. A few $1,000 you win for sure if you win the King of the Desert. But then what you do? Oh wow. Okay, let's do. How about a bear stack? We haven't stacked the bears in a while, but this room has given us bears a bear stack, so let's take it, I guess, huh? Let's say you win, right? Week 17, you win one of the King of the Desert's qualifiers on DraftKings. Then they will have future like contests that they'll cut that, so like 300 people win, I think. And then they have a next round. They haven't defined what like contest that's going to be in, because you can qualify in both golf and in football for the King of the Desert. And then the final it's a live final. So they'll fly if you make it through a couple more rounds of cutoffs, they'll fly you out Super Bowl week to I'm almost certain it's in Scottsdale. It has been in Scottsdale historically. And they'll fly you out the live final events. I've been lucky enough, knock on wood, I've been lucky enough to make it to about 20 or so DK live finals and for DFS. And I'll be honest, like, I'm not saying, again, this is not financial advice, because everybody needs to, play within their bankroll. Don't lose money you can't afford to lose, blah, 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 all that stuff. They're not the sharpest contest from bankroll management perspective. But if you can ever go to one of these events, DraftKings and FanDuel does too, does an incredible job of putting on awesome, just like all-inclusive events. They'll take you to like, they'll probably take you to the Waste Management Open at the King of the Desert. I'm sure somebody has been that can speak to it better than myself, but they'll take you to a baseball game. They'll take you to a football game. They'll take you out on like the last baseball one I went to for FanDuel was in wine country. So they fly you out, all expenses paid, to wine country. You get a weekend out there. Just like if it's something that fits within your bankroll and is something that is of interest to you, I do like legitimately recommend it. I'm gonna do downs here. I'm kind of trying to push Godwin when I can. Trying to think of how to play quarterback here. Obviously setting myself up for Caleb, but we'll see. We'll see how this goes. Philly Phantom says, I've been hammering the King of the Desert contest, got in the PGA last year and was awesome. That is awesome. Congratulations. It's really fun. They're really fun. And what I kind of call it is, it's like they have dollar tournaments. So you can just like get a bunch of extra volume in, which is always fun for very, very cheap. They range from $1 to $12 or whatever are the entry fees on them. So that's fun. You can draft a bunch more best ball teams for very affordable prices. That's always good. And then you can still win 4 figures, on $1 investment. But then it's like winning 4 figures with upside, because the winner of the King of the Desert is like $1 million or $500,000. So like you have upside to life-changing money, even though the most likely scenario is that you lose. But the most likely scenario, even when you win, right, is not life-changing money, but you have that added upside in the King of the Desert contest. I probably need to start hammering a bunch of those if I'm being totally honest. I'm gonna take Kyler and go ahead and lock down a quarterback here, then come back and target Caleb. I just don't have, obviously, Malik Nate. So my wide receivers are not guys that I love targeting their quarterbacks. Malik Neighbors, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Dak, of course, is fine. And then I'm pretty much set for Caleb. But Josh Downs, I don't really love Anthony Richardson and certainly not Daniel Jones. So I think just locking down Kyler, which, of course, stacked with Trey McBride, is wise for me here, rather than like I've obviously built a zero running back team. So back stacking, like I would have to back stack like my tight end 2 or my final wide receiver. I don't love doing that. I don't love doing that. So just go ahead and lock down Kyler here, I think, and then lock down Caleb, and then start ripping some running backs. This is my comfort zone. I will draft this team, and the majority of people will be absolutely disgusted by the running back room that we put together, and I will love it. I will love it. If you take Bowers or McBride on underdog, do you prefer adding a mid-round option like Goddard, stop at 2, or add 2 late options round 17? So here's what I'll say. I understand other people prefer different structures than I do on underdog. So typical caveats with all that. How I like to play it is when I draft Bowers or McBride, I don't care. Even if it's a round 18 guy, I'm only drafting 2 tight ends, certainly on underdog. We could talk a little bit more about it at in the 20 rounds. So I just went ahead and locked down Caleb here for the audio listeners. I don't take 3 tight ends, even when it's 17th and 18th round with McBride or Bowers. In terms of, do I prefer the mid-round options or the late-round options? I mean, ultimately, I would prefer the late-round options, but I also don't want to build my portfolio in such a way where, like, there's no reason that I can't ever draft Tucker Kraft on a Trey McBride team, right? If Tucker Kraft does break out and Trey McBride is awesome, having them together on the same team is great. I can make up for that with a 1 late-round wide receiver hit or whatever. So my preference would be, right, like McBride, Fannin, or something like that. Likely's falling a lot now, so you could take a Bowers and Likely or something like that. I like that a lot too. If you like the Mason Taylors or Fergusons or Arroyo, those kinds of guys, Chigakonkwo, Theo Johnson, like I totally am down to probably prefer to put those guys on the team with McBride or Bowers. But I also, like, I don't want to have like Goddard. Like, I'm betting heavily on the Eagles. I want to have some Goddard with those guys. I want to have some Jake Ferguson with those guys. I want to have some David Njoku with those guys, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just like it's a portfolio thing. Like, on one individual team is a little different than how I would handle like a full portfolio. Sam says, I missed qualifying for something similar years ago and finished second. I needed one more Chris Paul rebound, and he just let the ball back. Oh, man. Dude, those exact kind of like scenario, that kind of sweat is brutal. You know what we're going to do here? I'm going to do the thing that we just talked about and take Tyler Warren. And we might turn this into the old, it's definitely going to be at least 7 running backs, but it might be 8. Extreme zero running back. So with that being said, I really need to add some guys to the queue here to make sure I don't screw this up. To just get a little backlog going here, so I don't screw this up. I can double back for a 7th wide receiver in the last round if I would like. We could make this Zay Jones day. Draft 18th round Zay Jones. Draft last round Zay Jones twice. JSN day, Zay Jones day. Welcome to Spike Week. People are going to unsubscribe from the channel if we do 2 Zay Jones teams. Here's Keaton. Okay. I think we got a good enough queue here put together. The only the positive, the negative here with the new draft board is you really got to zoom out to fit it all in on the screen. Shriyat says, I love Bowers or McBride plus Fannin, but I personally think Freiermuth's price is so good. I'll sometimes add him as a third, but then wonder. Yeah, so that would be my take, is if you think the Freiermuth price is so good and you like the elite tight ends, I would just take Freiermuth with one of the elite tight ends and leave Fannin off of that team. Though I love Fannin, so I get the love for Fannin, but I would just sometimes I would take Fannin and sometimes I would take Freiermuth and just leave it with those two. All right. Ooh, I really haven't been trying to. Let's do Bigsby. I've really been trying to sit out this scat fall. I'm cool. Speaking of, aren't you worried? I'm quite worried about the Scattaboo injury. He's not going to be out for the season, obviously, but as we talked about with the rookies, just missing camp is so big for early season, but also just to ever take over a backfield while missing all of camp is a tricky bet. That's a tight needle to thread for a rookie running back who, Scattaboo is fine, but he was a 4th round pick. The Scattaboo trajectory and the Dylan Sampson trajectories are just going in complete and opposite directions. Philly Phantom's like damn mouse, having mouse issues. Jatavian Sanders, I support and respect the Jatavian Sanders take. I like him. My Fannin love is keeping me light on Jatavian Sanders, but I've recently also, when I don't take one of the elite tight ends, been trying to withhold my obsession on other guys like a Tucker Kraft and do some super cheap 3 tight end rooms like Jatavian Sanders, Theo Johnson, and Harold Fannin, using Fannin, Sanders, Higbee, Freiermuth, whatever, super late 3 tight end, because I do actually quite like a lot of the late tight ends. Shuby takes Fannin or Jatavian Sanders in every drafter's draft, which I am a big fan of. As much as I like some of these other running backs, I am just going to go get Trey Benson. Obviously, I have Kyler Murray and Trey McBride, and I like making, especially on an extreme 0 running back team, getting that team level bet in there. Just try to lock box, write a Kyler passing touchdown to Trey Benson or something early in the season to help boost that running back room. Tank Bigsby has also been a pretty big priority for me in these extreme 0 RB teams, because he might just be this, the air quotes starter in week 1. So I'm getting volume from this guy in week 1. Also notably, for any of my folks out there already grinding week 1, does play the not so good Carolina Panthers defense. Tank does, and the Jaguars. So potentially getting out of the gates hot with Jacksonville. Also, a quick reminder that here in a few more rounds, we'll spin the wheel and give away some drafters tickets. So if you could hit that, we can have some even more fun next Friday if everybody hits that like button. If you have not yet, it would be much appreciated while we wait for our 13th round pick. Extended show today because we rambled on for an hour. All of the training camp and preseason news you can take. We're drinking from a fire hose nowadays, but there was a lot to get to, and hopefully that helped. And as I mentioned, we'll be back next Friday doing the same thing, drafting some teams, talking about preseason week 1, preseason week 2, and the latest in training camp. And hopefully we don't get any more injuries. God damn, this is not this. This is probably a pretty good Jerome Ford team, actually. So let's do that. I think that this is your Jerome Ford ass team for sure. Jerome Ford and Tank, please save me in the first few weeks. What are you doing with the Indy QBs? He handcuffed them, took both Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. This Colts quarterback roller coaster has been terrible. I've hated every minute of it, and my opinion changes on it all the time. What I called Anthony Richardson last week or within the last couple of weeks, I can't remember exactly when it was the Kevin Malone, if you get 10,000 to 1 on anything, you should take it. And I do still believe that. But I'm just going to do a little bit of Anthony Richardson. I don't really see the benefit of drafting Daniel Jones. To me, I think they're going to give AR every opportunity to be the guy there. And like, even if Jones wins the job, he could still lose it again. And like, I'm doing all that just for Daniel Jones. And like, do I want to waste 2 roster spots on the fucking Colts quarterback? Like, not really. So I've been mostly avoiding it with a tiny little sprinkle of Anthony Richardson. We got to get Will Shipley, of course, onto the team. And yes, we're team pull them up right now. We're pulling up our guys. We got to go get our guys, especially in a 0 running back room. Tank Bigsby, Trey Benson, Jerome Ford, Will Shipley need the upside swings on the contingent value guys paired with Tank and Jerome Ford. Trey Benson hopefully gets to play early in the season as well. The Jaden Blue tent has a nice ring to it. Damn. Tooting at 177, Phantom got. I would take that. That is for sure. Through 14 rounds of this best ball mini, I always got to make sure I remember to run it down. People get mad in the comments. You're not servicing the audio listeners. That's what she said. Malik Neighbors in round 1. Trey McBride in round 2. Pulled him up a little bit to get that Neighbors combination, of which I don't have that much of. Jackson Smith and Jigba, JSN Day here at Spike Week. George Pickens get a beautiful DJ Moore fall, and frankly, a Rome Odunze fall as well. So we built out a little bear stack. I don't have a ton of those. I'm into this. I like it. Josh Downs, Kyler Murray, obviously to stack with Trey McBride. Talked about why I really thought that was important to go get Kyler there and then go get Caleb with the next pick. Tyler Warren popping, of course, but also correlated, right? That's the other thing about the AR and Daniel Jones stuff is like, you can just take the pass catchers, like I did here. Like I got a little Colts secondary stack. Obviously then they play against Tank Bigsby. I need extreme 0 running back room. So Tank is a pretty helpful piece to hopefully help me get out of the gates at the running back position. Trey Benson, Jerome Ford, and Will Shipley. Holy hell, my running back queue just got wiped the hell out. Absolutely wiped out. Let's do Rico Dowdle. Let's do Rico Dowdle. Put Taj in there. Can add Manungai to the Bears bet here. That was 15. So 16 and 17. 2 more running backs here, and then probably a last round. Does DK have an interface to see exposures? Am I just stupid? You are not stupid. It doesn't show unless you are entered into a contest. Also part of why we built our Draft IQ tool. Thank you for the perfect opportunity to plug Spike Week. I can pull it up here in just a second, but you can track all your best ball exposures and every nook and cranny, every combination of players, every structure, every every single possible way you might want to view your best ball portfolio you can do with Draft IQ. You don't have to rely upon these sites and they're just basic ass crappy exposure tech that they've built out. Jalen Knoll. Okay. You know what? I'm taking Diami. And then we'll I just don't think that there's running backs here that are like that big of a difference between the guys that I could or will get in round 17 and 18. Diami is still a priority for me. Also, of course, this kind of gives me this fun little secondary tank Diami Jaguar stacks with the Colts on the other side, Josh Downs and Tyler Warren. Yeah. Shuby gets Tory Horton. He was sweating him quite hard, and I figured I would let you guys have Horton and Royals for once. Obviously, I have a ton of Diami Brown as well. James, awesome content as usual. Thank you very much. Appreciate you watching. Will you be streaming any 555 fast drafts on DK? Definitely. So I'm currently in 2 slows. One, of course, we're recording the slow draft content with me, Rob, and Bernie. And then I'm in a second slow, and I'm going to start picking up the 555s. And closer to the season, we'll do some fasts, and we'll do them on. We can do some on stream for sure. I think I've mentioned I'll probably get to like 20. That's what I did last year. I thought that it fit the bankroll. It fit like my just like general drafting plans. I have so many other drafts I still want to get in, so I'll probably do about 20 555s or so. So we'll make sure to stream a couple of them down the stretch. On deck here, Taj. Oh damn, Manungai went. Shit. Well, no, you know what I'm gonna do? Oh shit, I screwed it up. Oh no. Gonna go take Damian. I wanted to make sure I got Damian Pierce on this team. So we have a running back room of Tank Bigsby, Trey Benson, Jerome Ford, Will Shipley, Rico Dowdle, Damian Pierce. And this like absolutely mega extreme 0 running back team. Having Tank, Ford, Pierce for some early season production, I think, was valuable. Obviously, as I mentioned, I think I will like this running back room a lot better than other people will. Wish we could have got my guy Keaton on here, of course, but nonetheless. Damn, Royals here in the last round too. Giddens or Jarquez Hunter. Let me look at my. I have like basically no Giddens. That's a pretty big Colts bet, which I'm pretty okay with actually. And a fitting final pick for the news stream, given that we talked about DJ Giddens and frankly we talked about the Colts quite a bit at the top. Just a shout out. Shuby is a total sicko, just like me. He says that is an awesome RB room. So we got Kyler Murray and Caleb Williams at the quarterback position, both stacked. Kyler stacked with Trey McBride, and then of course Trey Benson in this running back room. Caleb Williams stacked with both DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. But the running back room is the absolute extreme sicko 0 RB room of Tank Bigsby, Trey Benson, Jerome Ford, Will Shipley, Rico Dowdle, Damian Pierce, and DJ Giddens. I actually quite like that. I understand why someone wouldn't, but I think we blended, contingent value, late season upside with still getting some early season production to hopefully be able to advance this team. But the wide receiver room is Malik Neighbors, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, George Pickens, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Josh Downs, and Diami Brown. That's a pretty sick ass wide receiver room. And then Trey McBride and Tyler Warren. So if the running backs can get home for us, I think this team is going to be solid. But obviously we need some running back. We need some running back love. All right, we got to give away some free tickets here. So let's pull up the wheel. A friendly reminder, if you have not joined us before for one of these ticket giveaways on Fridays. Every Friday, right? We'll walk through the news. We'll draft some best ball teams, and then we'll give away some free tickets. I have been blessed by our friends over at Drafters to give away 3 free tickets to their main event every single Friday. Let's see who's winning the first one here today. All you have to do to be entered. Does it hang on for Paulino? So I don't have to go back through. If you want to be entered to win the free tickets, all you have to do is comment on one of the videos of that week. So there's lots of content here on the channel, that's for sure. If you drop a comment, I grab your username and I put it on the wheel here, and that enters you. So Paulino wins. Yeah, sorry. If you comment, I don't add it when it's oh my God, did Marie just win again? Marie is going to be maxing the Drafters main event through free tickets. I believe that's the third one that Marie has won here. Shout out Marie. But we got Paulino, we got Marie, and we got one more winner. Please reach out to me if you win and this is not your username. Kendrick, winner number 3. I will make sure that you guys get your tickets. If you have a separate Drafters username than what you see here with your wins on the wheel, please reach out to me. The Discord is the best place to contact me. You can shoot me a DM or tag me in the Spike Week Discord, whatever you prefer. But Paulino, Marie, and Kendrick, congratulations on your 3 tickets. We'll be back next week. Of course, Rob will be with you on Sunday, and be on the lookout tomorrow for a new episode of Legendary Sickos. Congrats to the winners. Thank you for hanging out. If you can hit the like button on the way out. It is insane, Marie. You used up your luck on Spike Week streams. I don't know if that's a good thing, but you're running hot. That is for sure. I do appreciate you guys. Make sure to hit subscribe as well on your way out if you are not already subscribed to the channel. We'll be keeping these news streams coming every single Friday, and then of course I'm live Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday nights. Right? You get it. Lots of best ball content. We are in the home stretch, and we're going to be grinding all the way up until Thursday night football. Happy Friday. Enjoy the games. Enjoy the weekend. And I will see you guys soon. Tomorrow, sort of. But Monday for sure. Peace.
Woo! Those were some spicy takes. Want to stay up to date with all of the other spicy takes we're going to have over here at Spike Week? Why don't you press that subscribe button below? If you turn notifications on, we draft a team, boom, you know about it. We have another spicy take, boom, you know about it. You can be there. You can draft with us. You want to stay up to date? That's how you do it. All right, we'll catch you later next time here at Spike Week.